bounty hunters. We don't need that scum.
I'll take on any job for the right price.
You are free to use any methods necessary, but I want them alive. No disintegrations.
As you wish.
He's all yours, bounty hunter.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
Welcome in to the Carbonite Chronicles, presented by the Hyperspace. Podcasting in the 25th century, this show is dedicated to talking about, reviewing, and celebrating the Disney Plus show, The Mandalorian. Guys, the whole crew is back. And I'm Matt.
I'm Jared.
I'm Brian.
I'm Lindsay.
They're the crew now, man. They're the official Star Wars crew, let's be honest.
Yeah, they
no
are.
longer guests. They're part of the podcast.
I was also waiting to see if Brian was. I was like, Brian, please go first. We didn't talk about it.
That's okay. I think we nailed
But
it.
it was perfect. It worked out.
It's been kind of a while since this group's been all together, so it's good to see everybody.
Yeah.
How's everyone doing?
I'm doing great, you know. For the first time in quite a while, or maybe forever, we got 2 new Star Wars shows in one day.
Crazy, isn't it?
Oh, that was awesome.
Lindsay, Bad Batch, you'll get there.
I was like, I'm pretty sure it's Bad Batch. I was like, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
By the way,
And I'm going to
fans-
say something right now.
Yeah.
That the Bad Batch episode may have been better than the Mando episode.
Oh.
and we'll talk about it.
Okay,
We can
shots
talk about it.
early shots are fired.
Real quick, by the way, as we're recording this is Jared's birthday. So everyone listening, send him some social media love and welcome, happy birthday. He's got 50 chasing him down, but he's not there yet. So
No, 50's still in the rearview mirror.
it's getting closer.
Oh, wait,
every day.
no, the rear view. No,
Yeah.
I'm not
The dash.
250.
It's in the it's in the dash cam.
It's in front of you. Yeah.
Yes, okay. Sorry.
So the Mandalorian season 3 is finally dropped. Long awaited. What a teaser we got with the book of Boba Fett to set this kind of season in motion. So guys, sorry, before we begin, if you have not seen this episode,
Oh crap!
what do we got, Jared?
I do have a brand new spoiler tape,
Oh,
as you can see. Hang on. Okay, I put it in off camera. This is the spoiler alert,
all right.
and we're going to play it now. It's queued up to the alert. Here we go.
All right, stop, collaborate, and listen.
Ah, crap.
That's
That's not it.
I mean, look,
You mean you didn't get a new one of those for your birthday?
No.
I mean, it's
Oh,
not like
not
you
need
had
one.
time to test it or queue it up. I mean,
Okay, hang on. Red alert. Red alert.
all right, guys, we're spoiling everything.
You know
This
what's the
entire
best?
episode
Is
gonna
sort of
get
watching everyone's bored expressions while I do this every week.
drop comedy. It doesn't get old, man.
No, okay.
I'm like,
But
how
hey,
many
yeah.
different faces of I can't believe it didn't work can I pretend to make?
Well, look. So we are going to be spoiling this episode. So if you haven't watched yet, don't listen to this. So we're going to get right into it. We start in a very, over the credits even, or the opening logos, it's different. They're not doing the normal music and things that they usually do. We hear like the hammering sound, like we're in a forge. And that's because we are. And our friend the armorer is making something. What is she making? This is your turn to talk.
Oh, good.
A Mandalorian helmet for a kid.
small Mandalorian. By the way, little trivia I read, that kid that we get that gets the helmet, does anyone know who that is?
I don't know, but he talks with a lisp and it bothers me.
It's Jimmy Kimmel's kid.
That's so mean, Jared.
Whose kid?
Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh, okay.
So,
Not that it
yeah.
matters. But, you know, I have to tell you,
I'm a
but
bad person.
Before the big action of this scene,
I will walk the way of the Mandal floor.
He's a
So,
little kid.
before the action really kicks off in this scene, all
I
right,
bought it.
I kind of for a second thought, are we getting a little bit of a flashback?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's exactly what I thought.
Because
I was
exactly
like,
what I thought.
He didn't
oh
get
my
to
God,
finish
thank you.
the creed when she says, I will never remove my helmet. And he never says that. So I kind of figured, is this Din when he was like a kid?
And there are so many of them that I thought surely this was in a past time when there were this many Mandalorians all in one place.
Right.
Because there are only supposed to be a couple of them left.
And there's like so many.
There's like 24 of them.
So we're seeing the initiation of I guess it's a foundling.
Yes, obviously a foundling.
He's becoming into the Mandalorian credo, and he's getting his helmet, and he's in the water, I guess, being baptized to Mandalorian. And just before he completes the creed, all hell breaks loose.
Yes, we start fighting a crocodile turtle dinosaur,
which is badass. It is cool.
Alligator-saurus.
Thing is awesome.
Yeah,
but real quick before we get into guys, why did they bother fighting the thing? They were losing.
Just fly away. Just fly
go
away. Run into the cave.
Go back in the cave.
There's a cave right there.
Well, they even told the kids. They said they say get the little ones into the cave.
And
they failed to do that. They failed to do that.
Dying to kill the dumb lizard. Okay, sorry. It was completely unnecessary to fight the lizard turtle.
Yep, and sorry.
Well, look.
Well, that's their mentality, though, is just to fight everything.
Well,
but
we've got 10 people left. Let's use 5 and fight the turtle.
Let's get everybody killed.
So
irresponsible, like adults too. They're like, get the kids to the cave. The kids aren't going to get themselves. They're like, cool dinosaur, man, and they just want to stay. Like, grab them and get them out of there.
Well, look. Here's what I'm saying.
What do you say?
Here's what I think about this scene. I enjoy this scene, although Matt did express his reservations about it to me earlier. Here's the thing. Like I talked about on our Cassian Chronicles. Right now, we have different flavors of Star Wars. Cassian's Cherry Coke, Mandalorian's Classic Coke. Cassian is not going to be fighting a giant dinosaur in his show.
No.
So this is where I get my dinosaur fighting.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it because it felt very Star Wars to me. And if you can't think it's cool when Mando comes in his starfighter and blows its guts out.
That was cool.
Oh man, that was awesome.
Music cue,
and unexpected because I'm sitting here thinking we're watching him get,
Yes, it was definitely the scene.
Into the
scene was a misdirect. It was a misdirect.
I love the scene. I mean, I nitpicked the reasoning that they chose to fight it, but it was awesome. It was a true run and gun fun. Star Wars is back. And it was expertly staged and directed, which is something you cannot say for Kenobi.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But something else I noticed as the show started, because we know that Andor did not use the volume, the stagecraft. Kenobi did, and Mandalorian has used it. But I just thought watching this episode how you can't really feel that they're in the volume in this episode because they mix it up with location shooting and whereas one of my criticisms of Kenobi, everything was shot in like this giant, it was staged, everything was staged in a big round flat place because they were shooting on the volume. Well, they figured out how to hide that. And the guy who directed this episode is Rick Famuyiwa, who has directed episodes of Mando in season 1, specifically the one where he's on the sand crawler and getting attacked and the Jawas steal all his crap. He also did the episode where Bill Burr's character was introduced on the prison ship. So we start with, and I'm surprised right off the bat that the previously on did not include anything from Book of Boba. Well, a couple of scenes from Book of Boba Fett, but they eliminated any mention of Luke, or Grogu being with Luke. It was all focused on him talking. I mean, he basically had the same conversation with the armorer that he had in Book of Boba Fett, where she's like, "Hey, you removed your helmet. Sorry, pal. Get out of here."
Yeah, I feel like you'd be confused if you didn't watch Book of Boba Fett and like, okay, then you'll just catch up on if you missed it. But then, yeah, they didn't really show it.
And that's
You know-
something I read, reading all the, the geek news and all that. People are like, well, if you didn't watch Boba Fett, you're going to be confused. And it's like, okay, well, I mean, people like us watched Boba Fett, so we know what happened.
Yeah.
But it is an odd choice.
So
no, forget them. Look,
in-
it doesn't matter. If
Okay.
you are this far into The Mandalorian and you skip to the Book of Boba Fett, that's your own fault.
Right, but I feel like it's also people who are new who might have just decided to catch up because the actor, Pedro Pascal, obviously big famous actor right now on that other show that's really good. And I feel like if you jump in and you're like, cool, new show with this guy, like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
True. What were you saying, Brian?
I went back and watched the first 2 seasons in preparation and I actually watched the second episode from Book of Boba Fett kind of after the fact, just to catch up and kind of feel like I completed the deal. But the one that was entirely about Mando, I watched that one beforehand, and then the one with Luke in it, I watched like the day after or something. But oh man, it really just all comes together. It works really well. But probably that Mando episode, the first one in the Book of Boba Fett, feels like more like a season opener than this did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Mando's episodes in Book of Boba Fett are superior to this episode.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, we'll talk about the entire episode, but I'll just say that overall, I talked to Jared kind of offline about this already, but
Not allowed. What do you mean?
I know. Well, I feel that like season 1 of Mandalorian really had a lot of grit, and it felt dirty, and it felt like, a real good underbelly of Star Wars that you were, glad to see. After watching this episode, I feel like the grit is gone, and I'm in like the glossy Star Wars again, which is fine, and it's a good place to be. It's a fun place to be, but I feel like that grit, which made it kind of really interesting and new and original, is kind of like they've kind of washed the grit off now. It feels very polished to me. And it has a bit of a different feel. It has more of a look. I don't want to say like comic book kind of esque flavor to it, but it's much more so that than I think season 1 Mandalorian, in my opinion. Not that, and it's not a bad thing, and I'm not complaining. Yeah. I'm not complaining. It's an evolution of the show, and it's fine. I just feel that it has a different feel already with this episode than what I've seen before.
I think just from the looks of it, it looks more polished. It sounds more polished for sure. Just I'm talking about like the score. I mean, that was a movie level score in that episode. I mean, it was really good.
I think I have to disagree with that.
Oh yeah.
Ludwig Göransson did the first 2 seasons,
Mhm.
and he also co-did the Book of Boba Fett with a man named Joseph Shirley, who is kind of like his apprentice. So Joseph Shirley he sort of has adopted a lot of Göransson's sound, his instrumentation. Ludwig Göransson, who had also done the previous 2 Creed films, Joseph Shirley, who did this episode, also took over for him on Creed 3 most recently. So it's kind of like his little apprentice or protege or whatever. But I thought the music was okay. I mean, it hit all the notes. They used the Mando theme and all that. But
I know it's jumping ahead, but I felt like the Mando theme, the sting, was a little overused in that asteroid belt or asteroid field.
Yeah,
I can see. Every time he zipped around a corner, it was like,
yeah. It felt like they used kind of a different note though each time or something.
Yeah,
I liked it when he attacked the dinosaur, and I liked it the first time he sprung out. But after like the third time, I was like, I get it. It's
Well,
Mando.
so I mean, that's where I would just disagree a little bit. I thought the music was fine. I mean, I always like listening to Star Wars music on its own, and I'll do that with this. So we'll see, though. I mean, it was good enough, I think, but there's been something recently where Jon Favreau said just in the past week that he's kind of confused everyone with his timeline that he's put forth. And I don't think his timeline is correct at all. He said that now he may be thinking about it in real time, like it has been since 2020, since we saw The Mandalorian in his own show. But he said, Grogu's been off with Luke for 2 years. And I'm like, I don't think that math
2 years,
up.
he said? No.
But I think he's conflating real world time with, and you could see in the interview, like Dave Filoni's sitting next to him and he kind of makes a face like, I don't think that's right.
You're probably right. He's probably doing just that.
But a lot of people have picked up on that and said, well, what? He was with Luke for 2 years? And I don't see that.
No, I don't.
I see that whole span as maybe 6 months. Tops.
I agree.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was kind of weird. But when you look at Navarro, Apollo Creed's planet.
Well, hold on. Before we get to Navarro, I just want to mention one last thing with the armorer, because he goes in and he has, as you guys stated earlier, he has basically the same conversation with her as we saw in the Book of Boba Fett.
Yes.
But what's funny to me? It's something, he's very much, he takes her lead and he really uses her as a guidepost for his life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he looks to her for all like things Mandalorian.
Sure.
And it's very funny to me because it's like he keeps messing up in the eyes of her, right? And she gives him like, this is the way, you're done. You can no longer be a man. But every time he's like, well, how about this? She's like, okay, you're right. It's like, she's very like steadfast in her like belief in Creed. Then she gives in every time. She's, okay.
Well, there was a difference in the conversation they had in Book of Boba to what they had in the opener.
Right.
And she's like, well, there is one way you can do this. You go to the mines of Mandalore and bathe in the waters. And in this episode, she says, that way is closed to you because Mandalore is destroyed.
Not just destroyed. I guess it's been made in the canon from Legends. They glassed the planet.
Well, yeah, they basically, it's uninhabitable and poisoned.
And he has a piece.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. Somebody's been there because I got this from some Jawas.
Yeah.
And so she's like, oh, okay, well.
Guess you can be a Mandalorian again.
It's also no, he says if I can prove it, and it's, she doesn't have to go. She's like, I guess, come back, whatever.
She's like, the armor's like, okay, I'm going to go watch you bathe.
My theory is that's when we're going to see Pedro Pascal's face next.
Yes, when he takes off the helmet and I guess sets his cell phone up to record himself doing it.
Yeah.
So I have to wonder about the purpose of this conversation because he already had his marching orders. He's like, I'm going to do this. But then he goes to this planet and says, hey, I'm going to do this. And she's like, okay, we already talked about this. Thanks for saving us from the dinosaur. So
yeah, except they didn't, except it wasn't like that.
But I think that's the only part of this episode that felt like it was trying to retread some ground to maybe help people catch up. Although they don't explain Grogu at all.
He's just with him.
Well, Grief Karga asks him, he's like, what's going on with your little friend there?
Like you returned him.
Like, I thought you were getting rid of him.
Yeah.
And he's like, he goes, well, it's a very long story, or he says something like that. But
the planet is now completely changed.
Which
that place is growing up.
And I think, Lindsay, I'm not sure you have. I know Brian and Matt have been to Galaxy's Edge.
No, but I'm going next month.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Wait, next month? What month is this?
It's March.
I'm going this month.
You're going this month.
Sorry.
Okay. Well, I was struck by how much Navarro now looks like Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, you're
Yes,
right.
it does have some
Oh, wow.
areas that kind of look that way.
And I'm
Instead of
thinking-
the color palette.
Yeah, it's not by accident.
Huh.
And I'm thinking, is Galaxy's Edge up for a rebrand soon? Because they just added Mandalorian and Boba Fett as walk-around characters in Galaxy's
that's
Edge.
cool.
So if they were smart, I mean, because for some reason they decided to lock Galaxy's Edge into this 1 year time frame between The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker.
Right.
And like, okay, but that's great, but nobody's talking about those movies anymore. People are talking about The Mandalorian. So
Sure.
I don't know. I don't
That's
know
a good point. Yeah.
if they're up for a course correction or something, but I did think, I was like, when I was watching it with Terry, I was like, she said, "Hey, that looks like Disney World." And I was like, yeah, it really kind of does.
Yeah, with the
does have those-
magistrates like headquarters and everything.
And
Yes.
has very
All that
big
those blue banners.
open streets and walkways for
and I-
tourist amount of people.
I have goals to have 2 droids carry my cape.
Oh my God, those
Yes.
droids are great.
Yes.
Dude, he is like
Grief is great.
he is like Lando times 100.
Yeah.
Like he's like all regal and he's like, yeah, let's
great.
go.
And what is he saying? I'm like the supreme magistrate. What
High
is it?
magistrate. High
High
magistrate.
magistrate.
And
He's very proud of that.
We
Yeah,
get some
and-
background information too from him, which is kind of cool. We learned that Moff Gideon is in a tribunal.
Bye-bye, Cara Dune.
Yeah, but so
See you never.
maybe we get to see him again. You know, maybe we get to see.
Giancarlo Esposito is definitely in season 3. He's a Star Wars celebrity who can't not keep secrets.
Oh.
So so like at conventions, he's always like spilling things he probably shouldn't.
That's good.
And but so we did see this place they're walking to. This school. It's where Grogu ate all the cookies,
the cookies.
last year. And so we find that place used to be a bar. And
Well, that
so
was the bar that was in the first season.
yes. And so these pirates show up who have not been to Galaxy's Edge.
They
And
look
they're
like
like,
straight out of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah. And so they're like,
Right out of
hey,
David
uh,
Jones's
Motley
locker or
Crue.
something.
so they're like, hey, Grief, why don't you fix us a drink? And he's like, well, hey, I feel like Grief is like, he's like the irresponsible guy who's now gone legit and has a family, and his old scummy friends show up trying to get him to go
Yeah.
back to his old ways. But he's like, no, hey, why don't we go up to my office and we'll have a drink there? And they're like, nope, you're gonna have a drink in this place. So Grief, we find, is still pretty good with a quick draw, and knocks the blaster out of this pirate's name is Vane. And a thing about him is, I don't know, the makeup seemed a little off to me.
A little bit, right?
Yeah, the like prosthetic to mouth attachment.
A little bubbly.
A little
bubbly.
yeah.
And the thing is, his species is called a Nikto.
Mhm.
And they've been around since Return of the Jedi. And they've been background players through all the prequel movies. But that design was made as a pullover mask. And it was usually seen like in the background, you know. And I guess it's just weird to see like a close up of it and a guy talking.
It was
me.
strange. It was a little weird.
Yeah.
It didn't feel fluid. Like you paused because it was weird. Like it kind of took me out of it a little bit because I'm like, that's strange.
It took me out of it too because I know I don't think they're the same, but the species that's the big cowboy blue bad guy from Book of Boba Fett.
Oh,
what's his name?
Cad Bane.
Oh yeah, Cad Bane.
Cad Bane. He looked so good with the clearly like
Mhm.
different
the-
kind of species face going on. That
yeah.
this looking not as good as that was really obvious.
Yeah, it felt a little cheap.
Yeah.
I think. But anyway, all his buddies get killed and he gets run off. And we find that, interestingly enough, so we see IG-11's statue in the town square, and it's actually, made with parts of his body, which seemed a little strange to me. It's
I
like,
thought that too.
I was like, it's like kind of like displaying a corpse, maybe.
Yep.
And
It's like, how's there anything left?
no,
I know, I
Well,
thought
that
the same
giant
thing.
explosion. It was
especially when you see they show it at the beginning of the episode, and he just bam,
Atomizes.
and it's funny, and I just caught this watching it again tonight. So somehow his whole torso survived that explosion, but his head gets crushed by a statue.
yes.
Because Grief Karga's secretary droid pushes a bronze statue on top of his head, and it totally disables him.
Oh, right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm
Well,
like,
And if his memory processor or whatever isn't in there, it's in his chest. Like where?
I don't. Yeah, that's a good question, because you would think it's in his head,
Man,
and
Maybe that's
yeah.
anthro.
I don't know.
human,
You know what?
That
Organic.
scene was straight
his
out
own
of
book.
Terminator.
that
It
was
was. I think it was supposed to be a nod to Terminator 2.
Yeah.
because
It was pretty.
that
because
gnarly.
coming
it
at
even-
him with the spine hanging out, and
it
Yeah.
even looked like it was stop motion.
Yep.
yeah.
I mean, I think it was animated to be that purposefully.
it was
but
creepy.
kinda-
it was creepy.
It was creepy.
It was cool.
But it makes me wonder, like, it was a very Star Wars thing for me to have Mando say, I want this droid.
Right.
Yeah.
And because in Star Wars, we know from many years of this, like, droids are people. I mean, they are characters. They're not, they're not disposable. I mean, even all the way up to like K2SO, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's like droids are characters and we like them. And a lot of people liked IG-11, but it's something like we would look at in the real world and say, okay, well, I'll just get another droid. But no, Mando is doing the Star Wars thing, and he's saying, I need him back.
And we've got our first side quest. In
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's not going to Mandalore right away. We have a
No.
side quest.
No, and let's digress here for a moment.
Much like
I
the
thought-
show is about.
And I think I actually talked offline with Lindsay about this.
No, we didn't.
Yeah,
What?
No, we didn't.
Well, I see Lindsay in person, so I can talk to her.
I was at work and I was like, I know we can't talk about this yet. We can talk about it on the show.
But
But
okay, so for all of last season, Mandalorian was on a quest. The first season was all about him evading and hiding and escaping and fighting people who were trying to get Grogu. But starting with season 2, we've got into this rhythm of go here, do this. Go here, do this. And I think Mike said last year, it's starting to feel like a video game. Like, okay, so you get to this point and somebody tells you where to go and what to do. Okay, I'll do that. And you think about last season, that's all it was.
Mhm.
It was Mando wanting to, okay, where are these Mandalorians? They're on Tatooine. Go to Tatooine. Well, they're not here, but take the frog lady here, and then you'll find the Mandalorian. Okay, where's the Jedi? Okay, the Mandalorian tells him the Jedi is over here. And then Ahsoka tells him, hey, you go somewhere else and contact the Jedi. And so you're just running all over the place. And it worked in season 2 for me because we were meeting cool people along the way. We met Bo-Katan and Ahsoka, and we met up with Boba Fett. So, and of course, Luke. So all of that was fine because it was like, holy cow, we're meeting all these cool people. But, immediately this season, I was like, okay, all right. So now he has to go talk to Bo-Katan, or he's already got his mission. He has to go take a bath in the water.
mm-hmm.
And, well, first I've got to get IG-11. Well, IG-11, we got to have Babu Frick fix him, which I thought was a funny scene.
It was very funny.
Oh
was
yeah,
really
that was fun.
And I like even though those little guys were obviously puppets, that feels very Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
to
I had
me.
no problem with that.
Yeah.
I like seeing it.
I like
And-
that they were like little cute things to Grogu. He's like the little cute thing.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
But he's like,
He's like
And Matt-
crushing that one.
Matt pointed out what I think was my favorite part of the episode was Carl Weathers translating what they were saying when they were speaking English.
oh,
Yeah.
I know.
He's
And
like
also,
talking basic.
Is that the only
It
door?
broke.
Because
It broke.
they don't show Mando like getting in there.
Well, I think he has room. It is sort of a large enough door, but
It's like Luke in Yoda's hut. You know?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I love him sitting like
I know.
cross in there.
And Carl Weathers has all been over going, they say he's broken. He can't. He goes, yes, I got that. I know. But Carl
Yeah.
Weathers just keeps going. He's trying to
Very
be
funny.
helpful. That was a funny scene. And
Hey,
then of
you
course,
know, there's a rumor that there's a an IG memory chip on Bespin.
oh.
do you think he's going to Bespin?
I could see it being a possibility. There is an IG-88's remnants are there.
Well, maybe they
You
could go
see
to
it
the
in
Death
Empire
Star.
Strikes Back.
Go to
That's
the
true.
Death Star 2 and find old
Yeah.
IG parts.
Speaking of things that don't blow up when you think they do,
Yeah. Death Star.
Lindsay,
Hey, there's a quarter of the Death Star setting in the ocean.
in
When-
Tales of the Bounty Hunter, IG-88's memory was put into the Death Star 2 and was about to take it over and become the most powerful
which is
entity in the universe.
kind of
Thank you.
infamous.
That was some pretty important content.
No, well, no, that's actually considered one of the dumbest stories
I
of
mean,
the old expanded universe.
Yeah,
When you said it, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
going movie on this one. IG-88's corpse in
Is
where
on Bespin.
C-3PO
I
was
like
ripped
that.
apart.
I like.
by the
I
Ugots.
love that idea. I didn't even think about that. I love that idea. That'd be great.
That's very
If
cool.
you go to Cloud City,
That would be awesome.
I think
We
it would
could meet
be.
Lando. Maybe Lando's back there now.
Oh yeah, you can have a DH Billy D.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could. Why not? I love that idea. It's
You
great.
never know. I mean, hey, that's a good theory. You heard it here first, everybody.
Love
Brian
that,
said
love
it.
Love that idea.
So, after Baby Yoda tries to grab a pet, which is he's like, no, bad baby.
Yeah.
Really
which-
funny.
But you know, it's
That
so
was
funny
good.
how like the Mandalorian didn't. He knows what's about to happen because he's seen it happen before. He's like,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
god,
He's like, no.
he had to get it out because he's about to get eaten or something.
So,
That's great.
okay, so we learn. I don't even remember why he goes to this planet where Bo-Katan is.
The castle, the Mandalorian.
Well, what about
castle,
the dogfight first in space?
Right.
Okay, so yeah, the asteroid field.
I thought that was one of the best starfighter scenes in all of Star Wars.
Yeah,
It was cool. I
great.
liked
it. Was
it.
great. My only, it's not a complaint because it is kind of Star Warsy, but the pirate king is
He's the Pirate
my
King.
He
God.
looked a little weird.
He
I
looked like
mean,
the like he's
looks like a
covered in
Muppet.
that fake grass that you put in the bottom of an Easter
he
basket.
looked like a Muppet that got loose.
You know, that's
You're
a
right,
nod
he made me think
to
of Pizza the Hut.
Pizza the Hut. You got it.
Yes.
Pizza the Hut.
well,
I was
Totally.
like,
he's
this
played.
feels like a Spaceballs scene.
She's right.
Yeah.
She's right.
Okay, Lindsay,
It was a total
yeah,
Spaceball scene.
you nailed it.
He also kind of looked like that guy. I think it was like Creep Show or something. One of those.
That where he turns into a plant.
Yeah, he turns into a plant.
Yeah,
bright
he looked like.
green.
Well, he did. He looks like Swamp Thing too.
Yeah,
And
it was really questionable.
was bizarre.
Seaweed face.
he was played by the guy who played Chrysanthemum, the Wookiee.
uh,
So he's played by Kerry Jones, kind of a big guy, but
Mhm.
it didn't land for me.
No.
And I'm like, what
Yeah.
is this? Yeah, a Spaceballs character.
yeah.
Totally.
But I thought his ship looked pretty cool. But I don't know. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying I like Grogu climbing into the belt like it was a seatbelt.
Oh,
Cute.
I want to know what if he must have some
Passageway.
he has a passageway. He must like a little cargo
Yeah.
hold.
Oh, in and out, yeah.
Because he has to go like from behind him
Mhm.
under his seat, and then I don't know. I'm sure there's already
Well, it's-
schematics.
Well, it's
for that
interesting because
out
we
there.
did see
Probably.
while they were in hyperspace,
Oh,
the same space whales that took
The Purgles.
Purgles.
the Purgles that
Yeah.
took away Thrawn and Ezra.
Which, okay, so Lindsay, this is an animated thing.
I knew that name Thrawn.
Really?
I knew them.
Okay.
He is great in
osmosis.
Okay. So Purgles are these basically space whales, which can travel through hyperspace. And I thought it was kind of neat looking when
I love that.
Grogu was like looking and he just saw these
It was very
silhouettes.
Cool. Yeah.
And that
and then
is
the big wide of them.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
You see the ship is like this big.
Mhm.
It was cool.
So that is a setup for Ahsoka. I have no doubt
Yeah.
because it's the Purgles that took away Ezra and Thrawn. And so they're at some unexplored part of the galaxy now. And I think the Ahsoka series is involving her trying to go find where they are. So the Purgles will come back, but that was a definitely a cool little nod. And so, I thought it was funny again when me and Lindsay talked about this the other day. Bo-Katan's got a pretty boring life.
It's like,
She's got a nice pad,
was
though,
just
man.
sitting there all day, like.
She
Is that
doesn't-
where she just hangs out?
Well,
There's
you know
no
what?
one else around.
She's
That
feeling sorry
castle-
for herself.
That planet and that castle was Obi-Wan Kenobi's main squeeze. That was her castle.
Really?
Yeah, that's where.
Oh,
her,
from the Clone Wars.
So what was her name?
Satine.
Her name was
Satine.
Satine.
So that's her family's castle and her family's planet.
Man.
And
Good
they were at
catch.
odds with Bo-Katan.
Yes,
And
because
so she's kind of looks like she's claimed it as her own trophy now.
yeah,
So,
because
Yeah.
in the Clone Wars there was this big
Civil War.
there was a Mandalorian civil war where half the Mandalorians wanted to adopt a life of pacifism and the other were like, no, there's no way that's going to happen. And Bo-Katan's sister was the leader of like the opposition, and she was also romantically involved with Obi-Wan Kenobi. So, which is something that Obi-Wan definitely hid from people.
I should hope so.
Uh,
Hypocrite. Oh my god.
yeah. So,
Oh yeah, his lightsaber was getting lit.
well, so I didn't even put that together that she was in Satine's, but
because you're there for 5 seconds, like you were saying about it feeling like a video game. I felt like we fast traveled to the place to get the thing, walked right in the front door of this massive set piece for 2 seconds that's completely empty with a person who's clearly waiting for him to show up. I don't know. She just hanging out in there.
Here's
and then
how
he leaves, and then we're gone.
Well, I think he maybe said, "Hey, I'm going to stop by." Like he may have contacted her and said, "Hey, I'm going to stop by,"
Maybe.
and she's like, "Okay, well, let me go lounge on my throne."
The only purpose of that
Let me
entire
look
scene.
as
Yeah.
I was saying, let me look as cool and casual, like I don't even care.
I
as
wear my
possibly
armor casually. you
Yeah,
know.
she should have been like in sweatpants or something. Just been like, "Hey, what do you want, Din Djarin?"
Eating like a bowl of oatmeal or something. But no, the only purpose of that entire meeting was for her to bring up the Darksaber and kind of like put that seed in the ground again, in case you forgot or you aren't up on it, reminding you that Din Djarin's got the Darksaber and that he's gonna have to lead Mandalore because she can't have the Darksaber, and that's all that was for. And then he's like, "Okay, I'll see you later."
Well,
did you get the impression that he was like, since it's apparently poison, I'm gonna go find out myself? Did you get the impression that he thought she maybe knew it wasn't really?
I think she's been there. I think she's been.
Okay.
I think she's been there because he called her out on that. Well, he even said, "Get your story straight," and then she kind of said, "Well, let's go and see for yourself then."
Okay, I was like,
because he
is that
called
what
her
this
out
is?
because she was saying it's poison, you can't go, and then
Mhm.
he's like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, "You just said one thing, now you're saying the other." She's like, "All right, well, you're right. Go see." So,
and she told him exactly where to go.
Well, look, this is not the last time we've seen her in this series. She's obviously going to come back. She wants the Darksaber. Just because he has it now doesn't mean she doesn't want it badly. So
we find out that her whole crew has abandoned her.
Mm-hmm.
And like they took the Star Destroyer that they stole, and they're out being mercenaries now.
Yeah. So it's gonna be we're seeing a lot. This is gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
But this, this episode was a lot of setup.
Yeah.
And I just wish it was handled a little better instead of just so straight ahead.
Like a kickoff episode from a season. You want
like you think about the previous premieres of Mando, it's been like, obviously we had episode 1, which was really cool because it was the first time we're seeing live action Star Wars TV. And then the second season opened with the big crate dragon, and we find out Boba Fett's still alive. And then this season, I really think a lot of the thunder was stolen by the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I mean, like Brian said, those are the real season 3 openers of Mando, I think.
They play out in a way that maybe they originally were. Just saying. At least the first one.
With especially like you said, because the last season was 2020 and COVID. I wonder if they weren't like, we got to give them something.
I think you're right,
with
and
Mando.
I think they were looking at the Book of Boba Fett, and they knew they had a soft launch, and they knew that they weren't getting the viewerships or the reviews that they needed. So maybe they just said, let's take it out and throw it in early. So
yeah, that's kind of where my head's at on that.
And we got some. I know that Bryce Dallas Howard's directed a few episodes, and she's really good.
The best.
And those are coming up. And, I think, like I said, I think they put the pieces on the board. Does anybody want to make predictions now for de-aged cameos? I think Brian's already put Lando out there.
Lando
I
makes
wonder
sense.
though, at this point, would they use oh my gosh, the actor from Community who played young Lando?
Oh, Glover.
Oh, Donald Glover. I don't think
Glover?
So because we've
Age
already
him up.
seen. Well, we've already seen Lando. This is post Return of the Jedi. So
I know,
now,
but which one's easier to do?
well, I think they wouldn't, but just because they haven't in the past. Like
Yeah.
they went with the young Han. And if they set any stories in that era, I think they'd use like Alden Ehrenreich. But if anything, any people from the original trilogy that you're going to see, I think they've established that's kind of their magic trick is bringing back their their filmic appearances.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see C-3PO. That's an easy one to add in.
And Chewbacca
would be an easy one.
All these, all those guys are. I mean, of course, they've already had R2 on the show a couple of times.
Yeah,
and those are the timeless ones that are easy to do. So,
and we
may get more loot.
We've
too.
had
I
a
mean,
tease.
potentially.
We've had a tease with the Purgles about maybe a possible Ahsoka connection. But I wouldn't be surprised if sometime before the end of this season we get a little more of a tease for that show, and maybe see Ahsoka again or something related to something in hyperspace. Maybe even if it's Thrawn or something. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see something in that regard.
I think that's where we're looking at maybe the post credits on the season finale, like they did with Boba Fett last Mando season,
which is
like
awesome, great.
Oh, where he comes in and shoots Bib Fortuna and all that. Boba! That was great. But I think, I think what you're looking at is possibly something like that, because we know that Ahsoka is being made by Favreau and Filoni. It's part of their same thing that they're doing. So I would definitely be, and I think we'll probably see Ahsoka this year.
Yeah,
sometime.
I think that's the main one that we're going to see. But hey, it's all good. And listen, even though we kind of sounds like we're kind of like crapping on the opener, but man, I'm glad Mandalorian's back. This is fun stuff. And it's a different kind of show than Andor. Andor is a heavy thinking kind of show that puts you in a lot of different perspective of Star Wars, but this is that run and gun fun Star Wars that I grew up on, and I'm glad it's back. And I can't wait to see what they do, because you know what? I know whatever they do, I'm going to love, because this show so far has not let me down, and I trust the people putting the show on now, where I know I can sit back and I'm going to enjoy it. And I can get critical on this show, but man, what a great thing for us to be able to become critical on a show like this and be able to talk about it, because man, this is like a dream come true still that we get this stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I did really like it. I think when it ended, I was like, it's over already. Like I was,
I
was like, what?
To too short. You got to give us more
Yeah.
than 35 minutes.
So I was enjoying it. I was just like, oh my god, that was
How long
like,
were the
so
episodes
short.
like? Were they? They weren't always this short.
I think
were
they
No,
always
no.
have been this. No,
No, this is. I think I heard someone say this is the shortest, one of the shortest live action episodes of TV.
And you kick
so
it off
far.
with it. I was surprised that they kicked
Yeah.
it off with.
I
But
think
whatever.
maybe they should have just done like the first two together. Just
No, and that's a pattern they've established. They did
Yeah.
that with.
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
showed 3 with Andor.
They're not going to do that with Mando, though. It's so popular. They're going to drag it out.
He's
Yeah.
Like, we
he's right.
know you're coming back. We don't have to trick you.
Yeah,
We want to
so-
get that subscription,
It's true. You're right.
extra week. Okay.
But what do you got?
So I do have a couple of nitpicks that I found. They're actually continuity flaws in the show.
Oh boy.
Oh no.
Okay. So when she's hammering on that disc at the very beginning,
Right.
You know, it's very
I saw this
flat,
too.
right?
I know what you're gonna say. I saw
Yeah.
this too.
They take after she's beaten that thing to death, they show a shot from below and that thing is perfectly flat again.
Yeah. I saw that too.
But then with the pirates, the lead pirate goes, "You just killed 4 of my starfighters." He shot down 5.
Well,
And
maybe he
apparently,
didn't see.
we saw 5 get blown up, and he only said 4. So anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Okay.
I didn't notice any of that.
Yeah.
Well, it also started with the other pirate when he goes, "Well, you killed 4 of my men," but technically that's right because Mando killed 4 and Grief Karga killed 1. There were 5.
They're pirates. They don't know
Well,
what they're talking
that's
about.
true.
They
And
can't count.
you know, and listen, just because they're pirates, I don't need the Pirates of the Caribbean language. Avast. Okay, that's a little too on the nose. But, you know, we'll do what you want, but you know.
And it
maybe-
also feels like it's setting up to have just someone be chasing him because there was no one really chasing him.
Yeah, so the pirate
Yeah.
Or that.
the swamp thing guy is gonna
Yeah,
be
that's our ticking clock now.
yeah. So all right.
I did one little thing. I liked that they added the credits for the like body double actors who do Mando,
Yes.
like more prevalent in the credits. I like that they did that.
Yes. Brendan Wayne and one other guy. I can't remember
I
his
don't remember
name.
the names. but-
Yeah, Brendan Wayne. He's on Instagram and he's actually John Wayne's grandson.
Oh wow!
And
Oh, yeah,
he
yeah.
he's a stunt performer and he actually at this point, like Pedro Pascal will tell you himself, he's a voiceover artist basically.
I think he's there sometimes,
He
but
apparently
barely,
for
I think.
I guess for season 3 he only if he's got his mask off it's him, but otherwise if he's walking around or doing stuff it's Brendan Wayne, and then it's another man when there's like a big intense fight scene.
It makes sense. It makes sense to do it
Yeah.
that way anyway.
And
Sure.
I think they all talk about how they all like came up with like the walk and the look and how he
Yeah.
stands. So I
It's-
did like that they brought
very-
them up in the credits.
It's as much
Yeah.
as David Prowse made Vader, you know, what he
His
was
physicality.
physically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like
Yeah.
I agree with it. That's a good move.
And
I'm
it's
there for it.
it's
And
it's
they did
cool.
We're going to be getting The Last of Us probably. So
I haven't watched that
yet. I
yet.
have to watch it.
oh my god, get out of town! It's so good.
Hey, listen, this is Carbonite Chronicles.
I know.
Lindsay.
I'm sorry.
All right. So I guess that'll do it for this week. We want you, our loyal subscriber, to keep coming back week after week, and we are going to be breaking down these episodes. We're gonna attempt to put out a new episode every week where we talk about this week's Mandalorian adventure, and at the end, we got 7 more weeks now, so we'll see where we are. But please, come back and see us, and we'll see you next time.
You know you can't live without this content. So subscribe to The Hyperspace, podcasting in the 25th century. Follow us on social media, leave us a review, and join us next time as we take you into the 25th century.